Alrighty, everyone. Here we are on yet another edition of the Re-Education Camp podcast. My name is Colin Miller, being joined alongside, as always, by the incomparable Ms. Karen O'Toole. Karen, here we are. It is Cinco de Mayo, or as we refer to it, Cipko de Mayo, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But I just want to express so I was out for a little Cinco de Mayo luncheon earlier, and I had some fish tacos and some refried beans and some rice, and I had a really strong house margarita. This place I go to, they make really good house margaritas, which is very hard to come by actually, to get like a good strong house margarita that actually has tequila in it and like gives you that buzz. It actually is a rarity. I know that you don't drink, but one
Mhm.
of these days you're gonna do a tequila shot one of these days. I
Okay.
really do love tequila, by the way. I love the taste of it. But anyway, I feel very bloated and like puffed out and just disgusting. I feel like Jabba the Hutt, honestly. That's how I feel right now. So I just wanted to express that to you and to our listening audience. I want everybody to know how disgusting and bloated and puffy I feel at the moment. But that's really neither here nor there. That's really just something I wanted to get out there. How are you doing today? Did you have any a celebration on this Cinco de Mayo?
Yes, in honor of an observance of Cipco de Mayo, we had a Quattro de Mayo get together, and I guess I echo your statements about feeling bloated and tired, and I guess we just have to go on the carnivore diet. Like we just need to join Jordan Peterson and just completely cut
And
out the
Michaela,
carbs. And Michaela,
what does she do, by the way, for work? Like, what in God's name has she ever worked a day in her life? Let's be honest. I mean, I know she's had some health issues, but haven't we all? You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway.
well, yeah, my mom claims that she refuses to believe that she's on the carnivore diet. Like my mom always says, she says, look at Jordan Peterson, like he's on the carnivore diet and he's emaciated. And then
Right.
somehow she is not emaciated whatsoever. So I I disclaimer, I've not really listened to her talk about the carnivore diet. I really am not familiar with her personal diet and approach. But yeah, so my mother is like completely refuses to believe that. Like I think my mother just believes she would have a much lower body fat percentage. And women will have higher body fat percentages than men. But I guess my mother has determined that if she was really only strictly eating meat, she would probably be like a lower body because my mother is a nutritionist.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
I'm
say,
kidding. I'm kidding.
Mrs. O'Toole is a nutritionist. You know,
Yeah. Well,
training.
she's usually right about everything. So I mean, that's how
It
mothers,
seems that way.
yeah, she is. Yes, typically.
I mean,
So
everything you tell me, it's like, oh my God, my mom said, like, I'll text Karen something, and she'll be like, my mom just said that, like in all caps. And it's like, of course she did, because I'm always right, and she
she is
obviously
also
thinks
always.
she's always right. So yeah.
Well, well, yes, but like you said, so Cipco de Mayo, we did want to just share. So if you're from the coal region of Pennsylvania, we just want to share our screen. We're bringing a new element to the show that we've never done before. Very quickly, we're going to show you some of the Cipco brothers, which Colin is more intimately, I guess, knowledgeable, I should say. But here are the Cipco brothers. Rest in peace. They
Yeah.
passed away in 2006 and 2008. And which brother is this, Colin?
So
Which
that's Ralph, and Ralph escaped the bunker in Berlin in May of 1945, and fled to the coal region of Pennsylvania. And on the left there is Daniel, and
That's not Roy Orbison. That's Daniel.
yeah, he does look a lot like Roy Orbison. And you know his hair. I always thought that his hair looked like one of those Russian hats. You know
Yeah,
what I
you're
mean,
right.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a beehive hair. Who knows? So friends of mine just told me yesterday they're from Jim Thorpe. So for people listening or watching, the Cipko brothers were two wealthy brothers who never married and were very big philanthropists within the coal region, which is not a very wealthy area. So I
Hmm.
read this, well, a friend of mine read this article last night that stated that they were worth $300 million. Um, but yeah, but you actually would see them in the flesh. Like I've never seen anything but photos of them, but you actually
Oh
have a little bit
yeah.
more
Yeah.
experience.
I have been in the same room with these wealthy gentlemen because they would always donate. They would donate to the local churches and Catholic schools. And of course, I went to Catholic school from preschool all the way through 12. And I remember they were speaking at the one mass in fifth grade, and me and two other schoolmates, school chums, buddies, got in trouble afterwards because we were laughing hysterically throughout Daniel's speech because like he actually got up like he Daniel, the one with the Russian hat,
Yeah.
he was like the mouthpiece,
Okay.
whereas Ralph was obviously he couldn't speak because he'd blow his cover. They know, oh, it's Hitler. So he's not he couldn't
We
open his
found them.
mouth. Yeah, right. We found him. So Daniel was the mouthpiece, and I remember him getting up, and I specifically remember him saying at the one, I don't know if it was that mass. They might have appeared at our family church the one time too, but I remember them saying like we want recognition. Like I remember that phrase specifically. We want recognition. Like this money that they gave, it there was some strings attached to it. The money that they would donate. There was some strings attached. And I hope we can't get in trouble for like libel or anything, by the way.
I don't know that there's someone.
Can I talk shit about the Cipko
I'm
brothers
pretty sure you can talk
posthumously?
extensively about, yes, yeah. I don't believe that there's someone that is going to sue for defamation
Yeah.
on
It
their
it just
behalf.
it seemed like there was some strings attached in terms of you really had to kiss the brass ring, so to speak, after they gave you the lump sum, whatever it was. But
Which I wonder what that would entail for two not, just bachelor brothers that dress flamboyantly. Like what did they want in what was the reciprocation there? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like what
I,
would they just like something
they
that
wanted to be showered with praise. I think
yeah,
that they had,
validation.
yeah, they really wanted validation. I think that obviously they probably missed out on a lot in life. I mean, even though they're very wealthy, like you said, they never married. I don't think they had any children, that we know of anyway. So I think they lived together. It was a very peculiar situation, and
Do you know where
God
they're
rest their souls. I don't
yeah.
mean to speak ill of the dead, but I think that they definitely used that. They used their wealth to their donations to fill a hole inside of them. They really wanted that praise from the community. And that was just my perception, but what do I know? All I know is I got in trouble and we had to do lines afterwards. I must not make fun of people. I remember we had to write that specifically. Uh-huh. I must not make
Meanwhile,
fun of
that's
people.
meanwhile, that's what you do continuously.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, I
So,
hope to make a career out of that.
yeah, right. But that's pretty much my experience with the Sipko brothers in a nutshell. But they've essentially become a meme if you have any connection to that area of Pennsylvania. Like the Sipko brothers are basically a meme, and you've definitely seen a picture of them before. So,
And you're yes,
yeah.
you're wait, so friends of mine told me that they also had a residence in Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia. Were you aware of this?
Yeah, I think I heard something about that they
Okay.
also had a place in Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, so in Rittenhouse, which is a very pricey area of Philadelphia, Center City area. But where was their residence in the coal region? In Coaldale? Where?
I think it was in Lansford, actually. I'm not even joking. I think it was in Lansford.
I wonder, there's a strange part of Lansford, which is like such a bizarre thing for us to talk about. But there's a strange part of Lansford where you cross over into like the mountainside. I remember like driving up there one time when I worked in beautiful Lansford, and there was like a very large home. So maybe I'm gonna have to do some digging after the show. I'm just gonna watch. My husband's watching Dune right now, so as he finishes Dune, I'll just be sitting there like researching at length the Cipko legends. But yeah, so I hope that everyone, the coal region is such a unique area, but I hope that people have some similar experiences. I really feel as if the whole nation is just becoming more homogenous and like just more basic, as if everything, it's like that song, is it Pete Seeger, Little Boxes, where it's as if there's a song Little Boxes about like the little Levittown houses that propped up after World War II. But it does feel like the country is becoming, we're losing a lot of the unique and color and uh all of the just the little tiny details and uniqueness that a lot of communities have. I feel like everything's just becoming like I guess not Bad Bath and Beyond, but a Panera Bread, a McDonald's, and Starbucks, and that's your culture. Stanley Cups and
Oh yeah, I mean,
the same
there's no sense of
Target.
community
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah.
really, so to speak.
We need
I
the
mean,
Cipkos. We need people like the
yeah,
Cipkos.
we need these oddball wealthy philanthropists
Wealthy
who
freaks.
who who dress crazy to come back and give us our culture back.
Yeah, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I just feel as if a lot of the country, like, we're just becoming so basic. Like, basic is the end all be all. As if like everybody wants to kind of sound the same. I was listening to a podcast with these two girls that were from Texas, and I was shocked that they were both from Texas and they were pretty much devoid of any perceivable accent. And I just was really surprised by that. And I'm not saying that that's fine. I mean, if you don't have a distinguishable accent, but um, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just
They
seems
just
like we're
sound
yeah,
like basic white chicks, basically.
yeah, yeah. Like everybody is just becoming uh kind of just like their homes look the same, their
Cookie
styles are the
cutter
same.
homes. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is just continuously becoming more and more uh I don't want to say corporate, but almost like everybody's become their own franchise. Like, we are just franchises of basic at this point.
Well, America's like a shell company, pretty much, As a whole, the United States is basically just a shell company. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I guess I guess I don't know that we have a culture. I don't know that.
We certainly don't like what is the culture that we export? Is it Taylor Swift? Is that it? Is that our main cultural export? Taylor Swift.
No, it's Nick Fuentes.
If one take, if only, if only we could preach the gospel of Nick and
And that's
send
that's that's what everyone thinks of when they think of the United States. Well, also too, like Taylor Swift, is it Donald Trump in a sense too? Is he part
is he
of
culture? I mean,
he was. He
he certainly
was.
was.
Yeah. I mean, we just wrapped up The Sopranos, and there was an episode where he's like fighting with his son about what he's going to do in the future. And he's like, "What are you going to do? Work for Donald Trump, drive his car?" And I just loved
Yeah.
it. Like, oh, I can't remember. He said something about Trump. I swear it was like alluding to Trump becoming the president, but it was bizarre when I listened to it. It's very interesting to go back. Like, I know we've talked about like Home Alone, but there's so many cultural touchstones and media moments where Trump is referenced. Oh, we were watching Married with Children, and there was an episode where they talk about Trump. Like Trump's name just became synonymous with wealth and like prestige and uh just riches in the United States. So it's interesting to go back and hear that. So at some point in time, I do think that Donald Trump might have been one of our cultural exports of the United States.
He is. It's like him and Taylor Swift. They're like the only two people who you can just take and drop pretty much anywhere in the world and they would be instantly recognized. I think
Yeah.
they're the only two people who you could drop them anywhere and they would be recognized, even on like put them in Uganda and
And
people will
people,
know who they
yeah.
are.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden hangs out at the Delaware Rehoboth Beach and nobody even notices.
Yeah,
They're like
Joe's
actively
always
avoiding him.
Joe's always just chilling. Are they, doesn't it seem now like I've been harping on this podcast every episode how they're going to swap Joe out and it's going to be,
Mhm.
I've been telling you that it's going to be Michelle Obama. Now I'm thinking like, you know what? I think it's going to be Joe. I really do think at this point that now they really have settled on Joe. They've got him, I guess, on the right balance of medications. They know when to give him, like remember that State of the Union? Like they gave him. I'm not sure what it is.
A horse
Maybe it's
tranquilizer.
Sudafed. Maybe they know it.
No, because I recently experimented with Sudafed and it was a huge
Oh
disappointment. I
yeah,
thought I was going to be rich by tomorrow, the next day. It just made me drowsy. So,
yeah.
well, I think they use like some kind of horse tranquilizers. I don't even think that that's a joke. Like, I think that that's legitimately some kind of medication that is used. Meanwhile, we're told that we can't use what was the medication during COVID because it was for horses or
I was just
something.
thinking of that. Ivermectin. You
Ivermectin,
had.
yeah. Meanwhile, they're like shooting up Joe with like horse medication so that he can deliver the State of the Union address.
Yeah, I think they've got him now on the right balance of meds, and they're just gonna, see what happens here. They're gonna see if he can hang. I think he's going to. I really do think he's gonna hang in there now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was chatting with some normie friends of mine yesterday, and they do not believe that he will be debating. That was one item that they did not think was on the table. We didn't really get into the whole like, is he running? Is he going to be swapped? But they said they were looking forward to having a pizza party to watch the debate. And then we had a debate whether or not the debate was going to go down.
I think
So
he will.
I said, well, he told Howard Stern he would be happy to do it, but they said they did not believe that that
He
would
gave a
take place.
wishy-washy answer on Stern. Actually, he was like, "Yeah, I'll debate him. Not sure when, but
Yeah, not sure. Yeah, yeah.
you mean while
Not
Trump's
sure
like,
where I am.
anytime, anywhere. Trump wants to do it now, and yeah, I think it'll happen. But then again, maybe it won't happen because they like they're gonna want to make it like a DNC debate, like it's gonna be moderated by like Joy Behar or somebody. It's like
Whoopi
Joy Behar
Goldberg.
and Whoopi Goldberg are the moderator. You know what I mean? So and is Trump going to agree to that? And I know Trump recently said that he's not going to debate RFK Jr., which I think is kind of unfair because I mean he's polling. Has a third party candidate ever been polling this high? Like he's
Yeah.
in the double digits. Like he's in 30% in a lot of different polls. So I don't know. I think that he deserves to be up there and say his piece. But I said on Twitter, I replied to somebody like, "Hey, listen, RFK would really destroy Trump on COVID policy." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
Trump doesn't want to debate him. He can't win because Trump's still out there, shilling for the vaccine, talking about how great it is, and now we're going to be using it to treat cancer. Meanwhile, turbo cancers are popping up everywhere, myocarditis, people dropping dead. So that's his biggest blind spot. That's the part about him that makes me cringe. Is like, dude, really? You're still like,
Well, Trump is a lot of talk and not a lot of substance. Like let's just be intellectually honest here. And in some capacity, I feel so Trump always flirted with the idea of running for office. And why exactly, did the nation fall into such a state of disrepair and that he felt like it was finally time for him to throw his hat in the ring. I mean, if you go back to that night, 3 a.m., 2016, November, whatever the date was, I feel like when he came and made that acceptance speech, he was stunned. He was stunned. Everybody on stage was stunned. I was stunned, but I really felt as if when you go back and watch that, he really didn't almost believe that he was going to make it. Like he was going to get across the finish line and actually have to become the president. But like I said, he's not a lot of substance. He's almost I'd said this before, like he would have almost been a better just somebody to just rally, just go to rallies, go out and talk. And we actually do have historical examples of individuals like this that maybe got into the politics or got into political races, maybe didn't serve, but we have people like Mother Jones. We have I'm just trying to think of some others, but there have been over the years we've had individuals that would go out and kind of go and speak to the public and rally people. So he might have just been a good like hype man for the Republican Party or
that
for
was
the
his favorite
conservative
part of it,
movement.
clearly.
Yeah.
Like he
He
loved going to the arenas and the stadiums
he's
and
been doing this for 8 years now, for like more than eight, almost like a decade. For a decade, he's just been like going to rallies. Uh, and like you said, I think that he enjoys that. He enjoys more of the race than I think he really enjoys the day to day of being the president, which doesn't necessarily shock me. But like you said, when it comes down to the vaccine, then we see where there's a lot of I don't think that Trump really understands policy. And hey, I don't think most Americans do. We have a rational ignorance, which makes sense that we do, that we aren't super involved because to know the ins and outs of policy is at the end of the day most likely a waste of your time. So
it's exhausting.
I think that Trump understands where he wants to be. Like he understands there's some kind of path, but I don't think that he has like a play-by-play strategic platform like the Obama Biden machine has and or Clinton machine at one time. But Trump, like I said, I think he just would have been a better hype guy. And I wonder if Trump really decided to why he decided to actually get involved, actually enter the race is because in some ways America's decline is also associated with his ego. And this I just want to explain this real quick. Does Trump feel that America being great again is Trump being great again? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I know
in
what you're
some ways
saying.
he's a cultural export of the United States, and to see the United States fall from grace in some aspects and really lose a lot of its like patriotism, lose a lot of its standing or its luster as we have a global, a changing global order. Do you think that in some ways Trump decided this is also a reflection of me? Like, I need America to be great again because I am great and I need this country. Like, in some ways, it's an extension of how he feels about himself.
I'm sure there's an element of that. I mean, if the country's doing good, then he's doing good by proxy, right? That
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
stands to reason. He's a
Yeah.
businessman, and yeah, I think that he wants a robust economy and a strong middle class because that's good for everybody. And
Yeah.
I also think that there's an element of not just is I don't think it's entirely about his ego. I think that there is an element of patriotism in there, even though I know some people might roll their eyes at that. You know, there's a lot of people who really do believe that this is all about him, and you know, he's
Yeah.
very selfish and self-centered and this and that. But I just don't buy it. I don't buy that. What you're going to be sitting you're going to be sitting in court every day and going through all of the minutia and all of this BS, these fake trials because this is all for you. I mean, all he would have to do is just say, yeah, you know what, screw this, I'm not running. He can go off into the sunset. They'd back off of him at that point, likely, and he can go about his merry business. But no, he's hanging in there. He's a trooper, he's a fighter. So I do think that there is an element of, in his mind, he is the only one who can prevent this country from just going into total decay, total decline, total collapse. There's even a part of me that kind of believes that. It's like, man, you know, not that I think, I certainly have plenty of criticisms of Trump and his presidency, but it's like, man, you know, could we can can we hang in there for another 4 years with Sleepy Joe at the helm and that whole apparatus? Boy, I don't know. And there's also a part of me that thinks that I go back and forth. Like, are we actually going to get to this election really? Because number one, it seems like it is forever. Like in political, in a political time frame. Like, how far out are we now? What is it? May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, so we're 6 months out. That's still like an eternity.
That's an
There is still
eternity.
there's still so much shit that could happen, and I still think that, man, there's going to be some sort of false flag event where Biden has to declare a state of emergency, and you know, maybe the elections have to be postponed or put on hold. I'm not ruling out that possibility either. I mean, just look at 2020. You know, look at March of 2020. For people who say, oh, that this can never happen, that can never happen, I always say, hey, remember March of
Yeah.
2020? Remember how bizarre things were? Anything can happen, nothing's off the table. So
Black Swan events. Well,
right.
jumping off that point though, you are right in some ways because like thinking about November of 2020 with the election, and then there was this, you said March, then there was this huge ground game to, you know, initiative to have all this mail-in voting, an unprecedented level of mail-in voting and ballots. And then you see we get to November, and when in our living history, when in my parents' history, when my grandmother's 95, I don't think even in her history did they not know the actual, I mean, I know that there's the Gore Bush, but I'm not sure. I'm saying, but in my lifetime, I do not recall not knowing who the president was within like the first 24 hours after polls closing. And I'm not sure, besides the Gore Bush in 2000, which I think is still kind of an outlier. And I don't think it was as extreme as what we saw in 2020. But
All the swing states literally stopped
top
counting
count.
votes
Yeah.
in
So
the
like
middle
all
of the
the
night.
states, I actually like have a memory on Facebook or like Instagram, and it was like, or maybe Snapchat, because I probably wouldn't share anything that political on social media. But I was like, wait, so all the states that actually matter just are not voting or not counting? Like this
That's
is,
right.
so it's
And
like,
there's
okay, anywhere that actually is going to tell us the outcome of this election, they're just off for the rest of the day. They need to get some sleep so that they get some proper rest to
when the
count
pipe
properly.
burst in
And
Georgia,
the pipe,
and I get like, and how does a pipe, like, okay, a pipe burst, you can't count votes because a pipe burst.
yeah,
I mean, you could count votes if the place is on fire. Like, you know.
yes. And I feel like people on the left would say, well, what was unprecedented was that we had the loser of the election would not concede. So Hey, I can
because he
understand.
saw there was foul play. I mean, we
Yeah.
all say, I don't even think that you have to be this like diehard like Trumper who has the MAGA hat and is at the rallies to look at this objectively and be like, okay, something there was obviously pardon the expression, but there was fuckery afoot. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty
Well, yeah, and
apparent.
I mean, I definitely believe like I you're right though, but it's very hard for people to be objective anymore, and it's hard for humans to be objective. But I definitely thought to myself, Biden could have legitimately won because there are enough people that truly believe that Trump it was satanic or evil, this fascist orange man that was coming to bring about the second Holocaust or something. You know what I mean? So I'm saying I did think that there were enough people that really believed that he was that evil. And so
I didn't.
yeah, so that
I,
there's you didn't think that there was enough, you think that there
no.
was enough people, there wasn't enough people that would
Yeah,
have voted
no,
against
no, I
Trump.
didn't think I do not believe. I'll go on record and say I don't believe that Joe Biden. My God, Joe Biden, who was like coming in dead last early on in the Democratic primaries, really like people hated Trump so much that he got 81 million
Mm,
votes. And also, you know what I think was a big factor in this? Like I think that, obviously they were sending out all of these mail-in ballots. I got two of them in the mail. I remember I threw them both out. How many times in America do you think this particular scenario played out where mom comes home from work and like she comes home and checks the mail and walks in the door and says, "Kids, our mail-in ballots are here. You're gonna vote." And like little Johnny's playing Halo or whatever on the Xbox. He's got his headset on,
he's looking
and
at
Johnny's like, "Mom,
pornography.
no, what? No, I don't want to do that." And then mom comes over. "Johnny, you're gonna vote. Just circle in for the Democrats. Here, you're gonna do it right now." "Okay, whatever, mom. Fine." And she collects little Johnny's ballot because he's 18. He knows nothing, by the way, but he's
Yeah.
18 and he's registered to vote and he got sent the mail-in ballot. So mom had him circle in, for the Democrat. How many times do you think that scenario played
Oh
out? Like
yeah, or
probably millions.
dementia, or yeah, so many different situations, or any vulnerable populations that maybe don't have their wits about them. Yeah, absolutely. And hey, you could say that, well, if that happened on the Democratic side, why wouldn't that happen on the Republican side? So which, to that, I would say, well, then that's why we need to actually show up at the ballot as the person we are with an ID, so that the Republican, and we do see there were instances where there were Republican voter fraud that took place in the 20 in recent elections. So I think, to be fair to everybody, to be fair to the Democrats, to be fair to Republicans, to be fair to independents, to be fair to the Green Party, Libertarian Party, everybody needs to show up with their ID in person, that they are the person they are, and vote. And,
That's racist.
yeah.
It is racist to ask somebody to present an ID to
ID.
vote.
Yes.
You need
Yeah.
it for everything else, but voting when it comes to that, that's just you are a fascist.
Yeah. And then at the same time, the same people that make that statement also will tell you democracy is at stake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like
our democracy.
democracy is so at stake. We're just going to send tons of ballots in the mail, and you could just you could just trust the U.S. Postal Service with democracy. Democracy is comes down
Right.
to the U.S. And what's interesting is, so I'm a registered Democrat, and my husband is a registered Republican. Uh, and on the point of ballots, the mail in, I had so many mail in, like, ballot vouchers sent to me. I had probably triple what my husband was sent. Not like the actual mail in, but like getting you to register.
Yeah,
Uh, I had so many sent to me. I probably, like, I can't remember exactly, but it was definitely about at least like 3 to 1. Like, he probably got two, and I
sure.
got at least like 6 to 10 sent to me as a registered Democrat. So, and like I said, him as a registered Republican. Fun story. My husband and I just went to go vote in the Pennsylvania primaries where I voted against Joe Biden as a registered Democrat. So the old biddies that were signing us in, like we came in and we gave them our names. They like were like, oh, she's a Democrat, and they were like, oh, he's a Republican. They're like, so she votes wrong and he votes right. They like just straight up said that. Like, can you imagine if I was actually like a mouth breathing liberal and these old people said that to me? Like, I would be
Yeah.
like calling the voter board of
Oh yeah,
officials.
because in Pennsylvania I was also a registered Democrat because I was registered as a Democrat to vote for Bernie Sanders in 2016 because I wanted everybody to have health care and I didn't want to work
Yeah.
anymore.
See how that
I
worked
thought
out.
yeah, that all turned to shit.
Now Bernie's a
But
friggin' millionaire. Hi, Bernie is a millionaire telling all of us that we're gonna get free healthcare and we don't have to work.
son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Tell
we
you
need
what.
to start telling people we're coming up with a plan for them to not have to work and that they just get free stuff and will become millionaires in the process too. So,
Whatever happened to that bill that he introduced to cut the workday down to 4 days a week? Whatever had did that ever gain any headway? Because I feel like he does things like that to maintain his street cred, to show
yeah,
everybody like,
yeah,
hey, see, still I'm still this democratic socialist firebrand who's trying to make life easier for you. And like meanwhile, like I feel like he introduces these things and he knows nothing's gonna happen with it just to maintain his cred with the kids. And meanwhile, he recently endorsed Joe Biden again. Oh, we have to get Joe Biden. What a man, what a fraud he turned out to be.
what a simp. That's what it
Yeah,
really
yeah,
comes down. Just a
exactly. What
simp.
just
He's
another
just a
just
simp.
simping for Biden, simping for the DNC. And really like everybody's a simp nowadays. Everybody's a simp for something.
I
It's
guess I'm
really
a simp
nauseating.
for Trump. I'm gonna be simping for Trump come November because what's my alternative, right?
P-
Like,
Part of me is like I'm like, man, I'll probably never get another chance in my lifetime to vote for a Kennedy.
oh
Like
yeah, you're
just like
right.
the allure of like voting for JFK's nephew and RFK's nephew, like these guys, the CIA murdered them, and I have the opportunity to vote for a like there's an allure to me to
Yeah,
that, to checking that Kennedy box
yeah,
off. And
yeah.
in Florida, I mean, is it even really going to matter? Like if I vote for RFK, like Trump's going to win Florida, like it's
And yeah, and it's interesting to see that Florida's changed. Maybe just a lot of I don't know if Florida's population has gotten older. I don't know exactly. Or maybe they just gotten redder because more Republicans have fled
too
more
many
liberal
damn people here.
states.
I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that. They need like half the state needs to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, we need another pandemic. Pandemic.
Yeah.
Fauci, what are you doing in retirement? We need a plan. That.
Yeah.
But so it's interesting though. I always feel like really privileged around, especially presidential elections, because I vote in Pennsylvania and I really feel as if my vote, or at least like my family, like I have such a big family, like especially when we would vote, when we all lived in the same like township, we were like our own voting block because there were so many of us. Like it was like
Yeah.
ridiculous. But like in the small elections. But I've always
Right.
enjoyed living in a state where like it actually mattered. Like I remember telling one of my friends in 2012, like I showed him how close like the 2012 or 2008 election came down to in our county, and it was probably like within like 20 votes. I'm like, no, no, like this is like really really close where we live. And I always feel bad for people that live in like states where it just doesn't matter. Like if you live in like Mississippi or California, like
Right.
you feel like almost like 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 there's like no sense. Like you just feel like hopeless about it because it's just going to go for one party nonetheless, which
I think Trump might win New York, by the way.
really,
I think he might win New York, and I think Biden might win Texas. That's my hot take. That's my hot
I like that hot
prediction
take. That is
for
okay.
November. Trump wins New York, Biden wins Texas.
Okay, so breakdown. I'm speculating in my head, like as you say that, my reasons for why that's accurate. What are your reasons? Like, what's your,
Just observing people on the street in New York, basically going on X and watching like these candid videos of people
yeah,
on the street in New York City. Everybody seems pretty like pissed off, generally
yeah,
speaking, at the way things are going.
yeah. Like
And
the union worker. That union
right.
worker. There was a really popular video a couple weeks ago where
Yeah,
the
where he says
union
F you.
worker, yeah, they were also out supporting Trump, and he was like F, and he was like, "What do you have to say of Biden?" And he's like, "F him, F Biden," or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you said, and for a union worker to just be like very upfront and vocal on screen, not just okay, yeah, I'm gonna go vote for who I'm gonna vote for when the curtains close, but to actually go on the record and say F the Democratic president. It's a pretty big deal for how unions have operated in the United States. So
It is.
historically. So
And then
yeah,
as far as Texas goes, I feel like that's
yeah,
been kind of turning into a purple state for a
yeah,
while
yeah.
now. Austin is a very super liberal LA,
And
California-esque type of
Dallas and
area.
Houston. Yeah, Dallas and
Yeah.
Houston also have a
And I,
lot of expats from the rest of the country.
and I think that and illegal immigration is going to swing things in favor of Biden in Texas.
Okay, okay. Well, also too, I mean, maybe that's because we might have some extra voters this year that are newly minted into the United States, just coming
Mm-hmm.
over the Rio Grande. So yes, that could change things. I really hope, my hope has been that the immigrants will like save us. Like that is actually my, I guess my hot take is that the immigrants, not just Spanish immigrants, because I think a lot of people are like, well, the Hispanic immigrants, they're Catholics and they're conservative culturally. So, they might start to vote. But I also think that a lot of the Asian immigrants, like, they didn't come to this country to come live in some socialist hellhole. Like, they came here for freedom, they came here for capitalism, they came here for liberty. Like they didn't come so that you could like take dollars out of their pocket that they worked hard for. Especially like if you look online, like some of the comments from like Indians, Indian Americans, Arab Americans, Asian, Chinese, like more
I think
Eastern
they lean more
Asian.
pro-Trump. All the groups you just
Yes.
mentioned, I really
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah. I really think that they do too. Like, F this, like you said, because in some ways, Trump embodies that perseverance and that American spirit. And I do think that those are our cultural touchstones. I think that the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, like those are our crown jewels. And our culture is about persevering, working hard, even though Colin and I would like to not work.
I like to sit on the
But
porch
it's a,
and
like I feel like that is our culture, is that our culture is that you can pursue. But unfortunately, I feel like a lot of our culture has become more corporations that are just trying to poison us so they can make an extra dollar so that they can get another house. Like I feel like unfortunately the American people, we've become so like like not just poisoned. I'm not just talking about like the food industry, but I mean like mentally, like the media. Like I really feel like the media, and when I'm talking about the media, I mean like all of it. I mean like all of the alternative stuff.
like
I
the Joe
feel like
Rogan
all the,
experience.
not the Joe Rogan, he's fine. Joe, I always give
Okay,
Joe a
just
pass.
just just
Always,
checking.
Joe always gets a pass. But really, like the news, a lot of the polarized alternative news sources too, I just feel like a lot of it kind of goes back to what we were talking about Trump. Like none of it is really substance, and a lot of it is just frivolous, trivial matters. to just get people outraged, get them confused, get them in an echo chamber so that there's so that there's no personal responsibility like within their own lives to make any real change. Not just, like I said, not just on a national level, but really just in like your day to day. Like so many people are just, as Thoreau wrote, like living lives of quiet desperation. And I feel like they just are accepting things as they are. And somebody that's not doing that just made his great return to X,
Ah,
Mr. Nick
yes,
Fuentes, who is
Mr.
not,
Nicholas
yes, who
J.
is
Fuentes, the voice of a generation, one of our future leaders,
our
maybe
future
maybe a future
leaders.
president, as Ye said on the Alex Jones show once upon a time. Yeah, he's back on Twitter. That really surprised me, honestly, that Elon was like, yeah, okay, I'll let him back as long as he doesn't break the law, yada yada yada. And yeah, here he is. I think he's actually doing a some sort of Twitter space tonight, as a matter of fact. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because here's the thing, like a lot of the views people have this because they've been told by the ADL and other people. They never even heard him introduce himself. They've never really heard him speak and talk about what he's all about, because really there's a lot about his America First platform. That's the name of his show, America First. There's a lot that your average conservative, or not even just conservative, like people who are engaged politically and our don't want taxpayer dollars being sent elsewhere. There's a lot that they would agree with
Mhm.
about Nick's platform. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, like I think you made a really good point that there's so often people are completely misrepresented, and I'm not saying like Nick. I happen to disagree with a lot of his takes or a lot of his methods, and
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, they make these people into boogeymen. Like they make Trump into a boogeyman. They make Kanye West into a boogeyman, Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes. Whereas if you just allow people to actually discern for them, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe people can't discern for themselves. Maybe their minds are so poisoned by Hostess and Doritos that they no longer capable of discernment, which you could make a pretty good argument for that. But nonetheless, like you said, I feel like very few people really will go out of their way to really listen to someone or see what they have to say. So the more we censor people, like you said, for their ideas, not necessarily for actual actions, uh, people don't realize. I mean, when I first started working for I started working for a website, and we had comments on the website, and I was shocked. I mean, I was absolutely shocked when I read all of the really anti-Semitic rhetoric and racist rhetoric that would get filtered into our comment section, right? Because I would see everything that was like filtered by WordPress. I was just alarmed. Like I couldn't believe it. I didn't know people actually thought this way and actually said these things. And they weren't well thought out comments. They were just really
Yeah.
hateful, just bottom of the barrel comments. But nonetheless, I was absolutely shocked by it. And that is actually when I determined that no, like we should not be filtering out these comments. Like people should know that this is how people think. I mean, I think just recently within the last year, I've realized like how far some of the rhetoric is and how much people like how extreme some people feel about certain topics where I didn't necessarily think that like people were that extreme. Like I didn't realize that it, went to this very, very deep, dark place. But like you said, because we're filtering it out everywhere. So I feel like and when you silence these people, I feel like it just grows. I think it's the same thing with what's going on in the college campuses. By shutting down now, should they be intimidating students trying to go to class? No. Should they be causing violence, breaking down buildings? No. But should they be able to protest? Absolutely. Like
I feel like
I
these
don't see.
protests have really been co-opted, by the way.
Yes.
I don't think that they started off like that. I really do believe that the core of this was a group of students who were trying basically what were they trying to do? They were trying to have the universities withdraw funds
Yeah.
that would go to the IDF. Is that what it was?
Yes, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to say it was necessarily the IDF, but yes, it was, investments in Israel. Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anything inherently anti-Semitic about pointing out how a lobby for a foreign country has a tremendous, tremendous amount of influence and power in American policy. But it seems like people are starting to get really pissed off because they're noticing more and more people are noticing when you point out how this lobby has such a tremendous amount of influence. It's like, oh, no, 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 you don't.
Yeah.
So,
Why
and
that if that topic is taboo, then it just fuels the flames. And I think that that is what's going to, and like you said, I think that a lot of this was co-opted. I saw some of the UCLA students on Reddit, like there's, like a subreddit for UCLA, and they were complaining that like they were just trying to, they weren't like Jewish or anything. They were just students, and they were complaining that a lot of the people were like they were not students that were on the campus, and
right, like
they
who are these
were,
people?
keeping them from going to class. Yeah, like who are these people? How do I get paid to not go to work and not go to
Right.
class? Like, how do I get
Right.
these funds? Like, where are the Soros dollars for me? Okay. Like, where do I get on
Yeah,
that gravy
I'll take
train? Like,
some Soros
yeah,
dollars.
what do I need to do to get some Soros bucks? Okay. Because it's like he's obviously like he's behind everything. Like, everywhere you turn, it's like Soros is paying for it. Soros is paying. This guy has insane amount of money if he's funding all of these different organizations and all of these different candidacies. And I just want to understand, like, I'll just quit work if you just send me Soros bucks. Like,
I'll
I
play
won't,
along.
I'll like, yeah,
I'll
like I'll do it.
compromise my
Yes.
belief. There's a lot I'll do to not have to do a 9 to 5. Believe me.
Yeah. Like, how much these protesters are getting paid, like way more than they should be. And but yeah, like you said, so some of the students, like that was reported, like from, that wasn't like coming from any groups. It was just like the UCL students on Reddit, just like complaining. And I saw people in the area like saying that they were trying to recruit people, like come down to campus and, like if you're fired up about this topic. And like you said, a lot of times these events end up getting co-opted and
Yeah, look at the Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name. I mean, that was ultimately co-opted as well, too. And it's like I'm listening. I'm seeing a lot of things on X, and you're seeing a lot of these far leftists on campus, like turning this whole thing into like we need a socialist revolution. It's like, wait a minute, what the hell does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with the Israel lobby or what's going on in Gaza? Or that has nothing to do with anything. What
Yeah.
do transgender rights have to do with it? So it was definitely co-opted with a lot of this super far left nonsense. But in terms of like the core message, I absolutely do believe you should be able to peacefully, get together and say, hey, this lobby for this country has too much influence. It's got to stop. There should be no other. There, should there be any country in the world at all that has any influence over the United States of America? I don't believe so. And really,
Yeah.
I think that that is the core of Fuentes' message. It's America first. It's like, no, we don't have. I remember Jesse Ventura gave like a great analogy about foreign aid. And he said, like, imagine if, like, you're completely, flat broke, you're behind on your mortgage, you're in danger of losing your house, you're behind on all these credit card payments. And then Uncle Bob calls up on the phone and says, "Hey, I need $500. Are you going to give him the $500?" It's like, no, no, of course you're not going to give him the $500. You got your own shit to take care of. And that's the core message as I understand it of America first. It's like, no, we need to take care of our own backyard now. And quite frankly, I'm in favor of no foreign aid to anybody until we figure until there's not one homeless veteran ODing on fentanyl. I'm sorry, not a penny to anybody. That's just my position. And I mean anybody. No, no, we have to take care of all of our citizens here that are struggling first. And then we'll reassess things and say, okay, well, we can maybe help out here in this
Yeah.
area, with the
Oh,
consent of the
yes.
voter, mind
Well,
you.
just I was thinking about this. This made me feel very like nihilistic. I was thinking today, like how much money, how much. I was having a conversation with somebody about like socialized, universal health care, and we were just like having a conversation about that and what was going on. And I was thinking about today, like how much money is spent on lobbying and on political campaigns. Like there is so much money spent that if you just took that money and just we actually saw it like in our, which in some ways you can argue that's goes into the economy in a sense, you know what I mean? It pays for jobs, people work on campaigns, and there in a sense you could say it goes into people's, it stimulates the economy,
Like
but
Joe Biden grows the economy,
it goes.
benefits everybody, hurts nobody. You ever see that one?
Yeah, when he's like, and he's got the little like notepad and he's like holding it or whatever.
I
That might have
wrote
been
the
a different
bill.
one.
I wrote the bill. That's my when he whispers
When
like
he
that.
whispers,
Oh
yeah.
my god, it's so creepy.
You're like, please, somebody get this man, please. Oh, wait, he's the president. He can have your head chopped off. But like you were saying, I was just thinking about like how much money is spent on all of that. And if it was just like actually going not towards corruption, because I personally like, I said to my friend, I said, I wouldn't mind. I think most people wouldn't mind paying taxes if we knew they weren't so corrupt.
Oh,
I
Karen.
know you're looking at
Sometimes.
we
Go
don't
ahead.
agree, but no, but you understand what I'm saying. It's just like we
Yes.
understand that like you send your money away to the government and there's just so much corruption, so much waste going on. And but also to that fact you were saying about like taking care of Americans first. And I feel like when you say that to someone, when you communicate that, it sounds very selfish. It sounds like a very self-centered message. And I'm here to say I feel like the way it really needs to be communicated is what does that say about us as a society if we cannot take care of the individuals, especially the individuals who have served our country? Like if we are not doing that, like if we are not meeting that obligation, who are we to take in open borders and take in all of these other people from around the world? I am happy to see people come to the United States, to immigrate to the United States. I think
I'm not happy
immigration.
to see any more people coming here. I'm sorry. We're full. Go to Disney World. It's packed. It's too much. I can't even get on Space Mountain.
Yeah, but I welcome immigration. I welcome, like, I think immigration is great for this country. Maybe not to Disneyland or Disney World. But like you said, it's not necessarily, I think that what there a lot of people are trying to communicate is not necessarily that we don't want people from other countries, but why are we giving these people free health care when we have veterans shooting themselves in front of VA hospitals? Like, let's put let's just pump the brakes a little bit and figure out what the hell is going on here, you know? And to be honest with you, the biggest problem is that, as I think it comes back to every week on the show, is that so much of this is not necessarily policy problems. In a lot of sense, they're moral problems. They're, their greed, their selfishness, their pleasure, their hedonism. Like, so a lot of it just always comes back. And then I think that that's why we always emphasize, like, hey, what's going on in your backyard? What's going on in your home, in your life? And just focus on that. Don't, if you need to, get the hell off Twitter for a week. Like, don't worry. I mean, watch Nick Fuentes Spaces later.
Yes, of
And
course.
where I do want to say he's not just America first, but he's definitely not a fan of women at all. And
No.
I don't mean this in like, it's actually like in hilarious way, because he's always
He
obligated,
echoes a lot of your same thoughts.
yes, he does. But like, he's always saying like he wants people to like get married and have children, and he definitely wants women to be part of men's lives, but he also like completely detests women in almost comical way. Like, I'm not going to sit here and defend that he wants to repeal the 19th Amendment. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about what he actually like. We're not going to debate that. I just think it's
Right.
really, really funny that he's like, I watched a clip where he said, he was like, and then these freaking men, they are like, I'm best friends with my wife. He was like, your wife's not your best friend. He's like, honestly, I don't even like hanging out with women. I don't want to ever hang out with women. And I'm like, I don't really think that Nick Fuentes likes women. Like, and I don't think he wants to be in a relationship with women. I don't think he ever wants to see women. So it's just really, really funny because I feel like he's all about like traditional values, but I'm not sure he's really into uh the feminine form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, he does make a lot of jokes about himself being an incel and, not really wanting to be in a relationship with a woman, and and being like, he'll make jokes about himself being asexual. I've heard him say that a lot. And I don't know, I feel like at this point in his life, he's using his brain for other things. And just to kind of circle back to what we were saying, though, in terms of like America first, if you think about it on an individual level, like how can you, as an individual, you Karen or me Colin, if we let ourselves go and just really, don't take care of ourselves, start popping pills, we're not getting any sleep, we're not getting
Yeah.
any exercise, we're letting everything go, our hygiene is lacking, how can we possibly be there for anybody else in our lives that we care about? We couldn't. If you don't
Yeah.
take care of yourself first, you can't be there properly for those in your life who might need you, who you care about. It's just not going to work. And
Yeah.
it's the same principle with a country. How in the hell could we actually help out those who legitimately need it if we aren't taking care of our own backyard first and getting ourselves in a healthier position? So it's just that simple to me. We've got to pause all this foreign aid and all these funds until we get things sorted out for the American citizens who live here and are homeless and are suffering, etc., and so forth.
I think that actually just took on a greater meaning for us, for our listeners. Like, yeah, make your bed, as Jordan Peterson says,
So
and
clean your room.
clean your own room, and then go on from there. Like, just focus on that for a little bit, and then once you kind of get some of that in place, then but until then, Colin and I will probably be doom scrolling and not cleaning our rooms and not
First thing in
not
the
kidding.
morning, get up and open up the X app and I'm just
See what
praying for like some sort of event at this point. Like, oh, please, something to break up the monotony of everyday life. Everything is so boring.
I don't know if I said this to you, but I actually realized we talked about Occupy Wall Street last week, and I realized I'm pretty angry that the protests that happened when I was in college, which were the Occupy Wall Street, all took place at City Hall in Philadelphia. There were no protests on my campus. And I'm a little bitter about that because I see all these kids getting out of class right now. And I'm like, I didn't get any days off, 0 days off for Occupy Philadelphia or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like, I didn't get any days off. So, like, just so you know, if you're listening, you're at Columbia, you're at NYU, I don't know where the other UCLA, just soak it up. Soak up the moment, soak up getting out of class. I mean, is there anything better than classes canceled? Like, I mean, come on. Like that is it's like
Oh,
a
that
snow
is
day.
like the only
It's
thing I
yeah.
looked forward to as a child in school, because I hated school. It was torture. It was just like, getting made fun of and being in uncomfortable situations. So when there was bad weather where we lived in Pennsylvania, like just the sheer joy that I felt, watching, turning on the TV in the morning as I'm laying in bed and seeing that closed in all caps underneath your school district. Oh my God, there was no better feeling as a child than that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's where, I mean, I'm not in favor of businesses having to shut down and the lockdowns, but in some ways it was, I know you were essential worker, but I
Yeah,
can understand how a lot of people were like, "Ugh, you just see your business scroll across the screen. You
I
tune
was
into the
so envious
radio
of
and hear.
everybody. I was so, what's funny too. I was even given the choice. I remember one of the main manager and one of the other higher ups called me into a room and said, "Hey, listen, Colin, in light of recent events, basically what we're doing here is we are trying to establish like a skeleton crew that's going to stay here and keep the ship afloat, and obviously we want you to be a part of this. Are you into it? Do you want to stay?" And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess I might. Like, I was even given the choice like to go home, but I was like, no, no, I'll stay here and continue working and
You're the hero that
keep
we don't deserve.
yeah,
You were a
pretty
real
much.
hero. You went into it even though you had the choice. You were like, "No, I'm not getting drafted. I'm signing up."
Yeah,
And you made sure that that dispensary was manned so that those people could get their Flintstone gummy cannabis. I don't even know what they were. I made that
I
up.
I did put my foot down for one thing though, because we weren't allowing, see, it was a medical marijuana dispensary and we weren't allowing patients to come in due to COVID, and it turned into basically like a parking lot curbside delivery service.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we had workers literally running out to a full packed chaotic parking lot with baggies full of weed and cash, and taking cash and handing weed to people in their cars. And I was like, this is where I draw the line. I'm not running out to the shady parking lot with the bag of weed.
Let
Sorry.
this let the 18-year-old 5'2" female do it.
Right, exactly. And they kind of like they didn't quite know what to do. Like, oh, well, okay. I mean, we need people at the like they didn't expect one of the workers to say, "Well, I'm not doing that though." You're
Yeah,
out of your
that's where I
fucking
draw the line.
mind. So like
I'm
me and
not
this
that
one,
much. I'm not leading the front. I'm not going up the Battle of the Bulge. Like I'm
right,
not doing that. Like I'm not storming the beaches of Normandy here. Like
right,
I'm staying back. Like doesn't somebody need to stay in Britain? Like doesn't somebody need to man the fort?
exactly. Like the general's not the one who's like at the leading the charge, but I think there was definitely a lot of people who looked at me sideways in that dispensary, like, why I know that Colin's not running outside with baggies full of weed. Like, why? And I never did it once. I never did it once, and it was like this policy where like I was grandfathered in. Like nobody after me was allowed to refuse that. I was like grandfathered into the no parking lot
Well,
policy. So
hey, sometimes you got to learn to say no. You got to know your
yeah,
limitations.
to your employer as well, too. You need to learn to say no to your employer when they ask you to do ridiculous shit like run baggies full of Schedule 1 controlled substances out to a shady parking lot full of disgusting people. Excuse me. Anyway,
I mean, you mean adoring customers
yes, right. Adoring needy patients who are there, and we're there to treat them with cannabis. But
with love and tender care.
Karen, is it time for Donald
Well,
Trump's
it
horoscope
is.
yet? I'm
I was
chomping at
just
the
pulling
bit.
it up. So today is Cinco de Mayo, which I don't know if Trump, how he feels about Cinco de Mayo. He might just want it to be the 5th of May. I don't know.
He made that tweet in 2016. Remember, Trump Tower has the best taco bowls. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I love the Hispanics. Don't you remember that?
Oh, okay. No, I don't remember that. Well, there
Oh,
you go. Happy
it
Cinco
was a
de
great one.
Mayo. Feliz Cinco de Mayo to Mr. Trump. All right. So today, being a Gemini, for today, Cinco de Mayo, it won't be long before the cosmic picture changes in your favor. But for now, you must accept that other people's needs must come ahead of your own. Be patient and look forward to the day when you no longer have to please anyone but yourself. It's a little
Huh.
ominous. I don't know if I like
Yeah.
that one. Don't worry, you'll be soon be the fascist dictator you've always wanted to be.
Oh God, God willing, right?
God,
God willing. That's what a lot.
that's actually hilarious because you're kind of right that there's probably like so many people that are like, they want that more than like Biden. They're like, oh, he's the dictator
Yeah,
of the United.
good.
Sure, sure, good. Yeah.
I trust him.
Yeah, you're like, he'll do a good job. Yeah, no, totally. Like he just has people execute it because he doesn't like the picture that they took of him. I
Mhm.
don't like that picture. Call them in. Get them down to DC now. They're just like dragging people out of their houses. Be like, did you take this picture of Donald Trump on May 2nd, 2024? No, no, that wasn't me. And
I
then
don't. I
you're
don't
like,
think he's that petty. Do you? I mean, I don't. I don't think he's that
TBD.
vain. Yeah, yeah. I guess you're right.
We'll see what the horoscope says. That'll be the indicator. We'll just have to wait and see. So,
Well,
well, it's
listen.
nice. Yes.
This
Happy
is a fun
Cipko de
episode,
Mayo.
right? We
Yes,
we had some
yes.
interesting philosophical discussions here. So that's a good place to go ahead and wrap things up. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a follow on X. Any closing thoughts, Karen?
Feliz Cipko de Mayo
Yes,
to
Cipko.
all that celebrate.
So on that note, we shall see you right here next week on another episode of Re-Education Camp. Have a great week, everybody.